Uh, Today's my topic in Ando is about traumatic injuries, which you most commonly encounter in your clinical practice, and even exam point of view, you can expect 9 marks question, 4 marks question, and 2 marks question from this chapter. So uh, it's very important in terms of exam point of view as well as clinical applications. Hope you are all doing well at home. So read well and then revise your previous topics that will be useful for your examination. Okay. Going to the topic about traumatic injuries. So most commonly, when this traumatic injuries occurs, age group, you can most common age groups to prone for traumatic injuries are children 8 to 12 years of age group and 2 to 4 years of age group because uh, those children in that age group are more prone to dental traumatic injuries because of their activities in that age, like running or playing activities. So those activities causes more traumatic injuries in that age group. When you look at that predilection for sex, boys tend to have more uh, rate than girls. So boys have about 2 to 3 times when compared to girls. So the prevalence rate is more in boys than girls, and the age group is in children will be 8 to 12 years. And after that, commonly seen traumatic injuries is accidents or any incidences that causes traumatic injuries. So we will go those things. What are the etiological factors that causes traumatic injuries? So that can be falls and collisions, or bicycle injuries, that's cycle injuries, or any sports or contact sports, any sports related injuries, or accident, road traffic accident, automobile injuries, and then assaults. And these are the most commonly uh, etiological factors that causes traumatic injuries to the teeth. So they are falls and collisions, and then cycle injuries, and then sports and contact sports, uh, automobile injuries, road traffic accidents, and then assaults. These are the most common etiological factors for traumatic injuries to happen. So what are the predisposing factors that causes traumatic injuries um, to the people? So when you have an increased overjet of teeth, this is one of the predisposing factor, and the protrusion of maxillary anterior teeth and insufficient lip closure, and children with cerebral palsy and mental distress and history of previous injuries, all these are predisposing factors for the traumatic injuries. So they are increased overjet and protrusion of maxillary anterior teeth and insufficient lip closure, and the children with any medical conditions like cerebral palsy, mental distress with a history of previous injuries. All these predisposing factors causes traumatic injuries. So as I told you before also, the most common causes of dental injuries in falls comprises around 26 to 86%. And the other common causes are sports accidents, automobile accident, fights and assaults, and biting hard items. So these are the most common causes for the traumatic injuries to happen in the people. So when we go into the traumatic injuries, the most common classification that you can expect in 4 marks question or 2 marks question or in essay is Ellis and Dave classification. So it is a classification that commonly uh, uh, denotes about the traumatic injuries in the teeth. Even this classification they commonly follow in pedo also. So that one is class 1, class 2, class 3, class 4, class 5, class 6, class 7, class 8, and class 9. So from class 1 to class 9, you have 9 types in this Ellis classification. So we'll go into that. What is the classification first, and then we will go into detail about those things. What do you mean by class 1? Class 1 is a simple fracture of the crown that involving little enamel. That is a simple fracture of the crown involving enamel is uh, class 1 fracture. Class 2 fracture is fracture involving enamel and dentin. So class 2 is enamel and dentin without pulp. Okay. Class 3 fracture is enamel and dentin with pulp exposure. Okay. And then class 4 fracture is traumatized tooth resulting non-vitality is class 4 fracture. So traumatized tooth resulting non-vitality of the tooth is class 4 fracture. And then class 5 fracture is tooth loss due to trauma is class 5 fracture. And then class 6 fracture is fracture of root with or without loss of crown structure. Class 6 fracture is fracture of root with or without loss of crown structure. Class 7 fracture is displacement of tooth without crown or root fracture. Class 7 fracture is displacement of tooth without crown or root fracture. And then class 8 fracture, fracture of crown and masseter and its replacement. And then class 9 fracture, fracture of deciduous teeth. Okay. So I'll repeat once again. Class 1 fracture is enamel fracture. Class 2 fracture is enamel and dentine fracture without pulp involvement. Class 3 fracture is enamel dentine with pulp involvement. And then class 4 fracture is loss of tooth vitality. Trauma which results in loss of tooth vitality called as class 4. It may be loss of crown structure or may not be a loss of, no, there will not be a crown structure loss. And class 5 fracture is loss of tooth loss due to trauma. That means tooth is coming completely out of the socket is called as class 5 fracture, which you usually call it as avulsion also. And then class 6 fracture is fracture of root with or without loss of crown structure. And then class 7 fracture is displacement of tooth without crown or root fracture. Class 8 fracture is fracture of crown and mass and its replacement. And then class 9 fracture is fracture of deciduous tooth. So this is a diagrammatic representation of Ellis classification. You can see class 1 fracture is only enamel fracture, whereas class 2 fracture is enamel and dentine. You can see a line in third figure, class 3 fracture, where there will be enamel and dentine and even pulp is getting involved. That is a class 3 fracture. And then class 4 fracture is tooth losses is vitality. Tooth becomes non-vital. That is called as class 4 fracture. And then class 5 fracture is tooth is completely out of the socket. So the tooth comes out of the socket. It will be falling down or maybe in the patient hand somewhere it falls down. That is class 5 fracture. You call it as avulsion. This is the most common thing sometimes happen in the school children and it is difficult to manage and the psychological trauma trauma will also be more on the children because of appearance of the children. So this should be dealt very well to improve their psychological behavior also. So this type of fractures avulsion is commonly thing which you can see in your clinical practices also. Okay. And then class 6 fracture is root fracture, and then class 7 fracture is displacement of tooth without crown or root fracture, and class 8 fracture is crown and masse, and then class 9 fracture is deciduous teeth fracture. That means, okay, this is a diagrammatic representation of Ellis classification where you have 9 different types of classification. uh, 9 different types of classes are there, which denotes what are the different types that are present in Ellis classification. Okay. When we go to the next one, the most commonly thing that occurs is luxation injury. There will be only displacement of the teeth, but there won't be any fracture of tooth or crown. And those things, it is called as luxation injuries. Under luxation injuries, You have concussion, subluxation, lateral luxation, extrusive luxation, and intrusive luxation. Okay, you have concussion, subluxation, lateral luxation, extrusive luxation, and intrusive luxation. Luxation injuries are another classification. So they can ask you Ellis classification or they can ask you luxation injuries classification. When they ask you luxation injuries classification, you are supposed to write about concussion, subluxation, lateral luxation, extrusive luxation, and intrusive luxation. Okay. So, what do you mean by concussion? Concussion. It is defined as an injury to the supporting structures of the tooth without abnormal loosening or displacement of the tooth is called as luxation injuries. So, luxation injuries is defined as injury to the supporting structures of the tooth without abnormal loosening or displacement of the tooth is called as concussion. So, but the patient will have a significant reaction to percussion because some injury has occurred to the supporting tissues of the tooth. So, when you have a percussion, definitely patient will have some pain will be there. So, concussion is injury is nothing but it's an injury to the supporting structures of the tooth without abnormal loosening or displacement of the tooth. So, it is clear that you have a injury to the supporting tooth structure, that is periodontal ligament, but there is no loosening of the tooth or displacement of the tooth. But it has some reaction to the percussion, that is called as concussion injury. I am going to explain in this class what are the injuries, but how it looks and what is the management of those injuries in my next class. Okay, so I am going to explain what are the injuries now, what are those clinical features and their management. I'll explain it in the next class. Okay, the next one is subluxation. Subluxation. It is defined as the injury to the supporting structures of a tooth resulting in abnormal loosening of the tooth without any displacement. Okay. It is also an injury to the supporting structures of the tooth. That is, an injury has occurred to the periodontal ligament of the tooth, but there is an abnormal loosening of the tooth but without any displacement. In the previous concussion, there is no loosening or displacement, only injury to the PDL. But when it comes to the subluxation, injury to the PDL is there, and again you have a abnormal loosening, but there is no displacement. Okay, there is no displacement. That is called as subluxation injury. Extrusive luxation. It is defined as a partial displacement of the tooth from its alveolar socket. So now concussion and subluxation, there is no displacement of the tooth. Okay, you have only loosening in subluxation. Even loosening is also not there in concussion injury. But when you come to the next level, extrusive luxation, intrusive luxation, and lateral luxation, you have a displacement of the teeth. You have a displacement of the teeth. So, so it is defined as a partial displacement of the tooth from its alveolar socket is called as extrusive luxation. Where the movement is, it is coming out of the socket. That means towards the it's coming out of the socket, so it is extruded. Tooth is extruded. That is called as extrusive luxation. So tooth is having a occlusally it moving out of the socket, so it is called as extrusive luxation. The main feature is the tooth is extruded, it is coming out of the socket. That's why it is called as extrusive luxation. Lateral luxation. It is defined as eccentric displacement of the tooth other than in axial direction is called as lateral luxation. You can see in the figure how the lateral luxation is there. It is defined as an eccentric displacement of the tooth other than in axial direction is called as lateral luxation. When it is coming out of the socket, it is called as extrusive luxation. When it is as in an eccentric displacement of the tooth, it is called as lateral luxation. Okay, and in the intrusive luxation, is it defined as intrusion or displacement of the tooth into the alveolar bone, along the axis is called as intrusive luxation. It is defined as an intrusion or displacement of the tooth into the alveolar bone is called as intrusive luxation. If the tooth, so it is intrusive luxation is defined as displacement of the tooth into the alveolar bone is called as intrusive luxation. Okay. So when you look at these injuries, concussion, subluxation, lateral luxation, extrusive luxation, and intrusive luxation. So how about the when that injuries occurs? What happens to the injury to the PDL and abnormal loosening of the tooth and displacement of the tooth? A small table. In concussion, there is only injury to periodontal ligament. There is no loosening of the tooth or displacement of the tooth. Whereas in subluxation, you have injury as well as abnormal loosening of the tooth, but there is no displacement of the tooth. But whereas in lateral luxation, extrusive luxation, and intrusive luxation, you have injury, abnormal loosening of the tooth, and then as well as displacement of the teeth. All the three are present in lateral luxation, extrusive luxation, and intrusive luxation. Basically, luxation injuries in that a minimal trauma is concussion, little bit more than that is subluxation, whereas damage to the PDL will occur more in lateral luxation, extrusive luxation, and intrusive luxation. Okay, so this is another classification. These are called as luxation injuries classification. So you can see a trauma can occur either an enamel fracture or a dentin fracture or non-vitality, and you can see there is no displace. There is no fractures or anything, but you can see only a displacement of the tooth or a concussion injuries, luxation injuries. Under that, you have concussion, subluxation, lateral luxation, extrusive luxation, and intrusive luxation. Depending upon its movement of the tooth, that is the displacement. If it goes into the socket, you call it as intrusive luxation. When it comes out of the socket, you call it as extrusive luxation. When there is an eccentric displacement of the tooth, is called as lateral luxation. But there is no displacement of the tooth. You see only loosening of the tooth. You call it as subluxation. Okay. Even nothing is seen, no mobility, no loosening, just a pain on percussion. Then it's called as concussion injury. Okay. Before going in detail about management of these things, I would say about the management of class 1 and class 2 fracture and finish this class, and in the next class I will discuss about the remaining fractures. Okay, as I told you before, Ellie's class 1 fracture is nothing but you have an enamel fracture. If a tooth fragment is available, it can be bonded to the tooth, and in many cases you don't need any treatment also, just sometimes a small chipping of enamel will occur. In that, you have a roughened edges will be there, you just smoothen that roughened edges and leave it like that. But where you see a considerably little more fracture is seen, then you can replace that enamel with the help of a composite restoration, which is a tooth colored restoration. So class 1 fracture is nothing but a small enamel fracture. If enamel fracture is very small, where you feel that you cannot do a restoration, just roughened edges needs to be smoothed. Patient will come, sir, after the fracture, I have only roughened edges, sir, nothing that, but I don't see any difference in that. So you just smooth it. That's more than enough. And if the fracture is large enough, where you feel that it has to be replaced, then do a composite restoration. So enamel fracture is nothing, you either a smoothing of edges depending on the extent. If needed, you can go with a composite restoration. The next one is management of class 2 fracture, where you can see you have a enamel and dentin fracture. If tooth fragment is available, you can bond that to the tooth with the help of a bonding agent or as a resin cement. You bond it to the tooth. That is one definitive way treatment. Or you don't see any fracture segment, patient has lost it, you can do a composite restoration and then leave it. Keep in for observation. If needed, you take a radiograph and check any root fractures are there, and you have uh, evaluated that nothing else is there, and then only enamel and dentin fracture. You can go ahead with the restoration with the help of a composite resins. So that is about the class 2 fracture. So we will finish this class till management of class 2 fracture, and then in the next class we will go ahead with the remaining fractures management. Okay, hope read well. This is a time where you can concentrate on your reading and improving knowledge, and read as many subjects as possible, and again, uh, stay home, stay safe.